What's happening, guys? I'm TechSource. Welcome to Setup Wars episode 183, Teen Edition. We're going to be looking at some awesome teenager setups on the show. If you guys want to participate, as always, make sure to watch the video linked down below. But with that said, let the Setup Wars begin. Hey guys, so I'm super excited to announce that my favorite game on my smartphone is back again to sponsor another video. I'm sure at this point you have heard of Raid: Shadow Legends. It's an awesome free turn-based RPG game that quickly became one of the top 3 ranked RPGs on Google Play Store, and they just been nominated as finalists for Google Play's Best of 2019 Users' Choice Award. Amazing graphics, gameplay, and there's always something to do. As a new player, you can also get tons of free champions, equipment, and other cool stuff just for learning to play. Raid is constantly adding in new content and releasing 14 new champions each month. You can create a team from 16 heroic factions and go against enemies in PvP, or fight giant bosses in dungeons, or my personal favorite, the clan boss. I've been playing for a while, so I've unlocked a lot of really good legendaries in the game, my personal favorite being Arbiter, who is unstoppable in my arena team. So what are you guys waiting for? Join the 15 million players who are already playing the game. Make sure to click the link below to download yours for free. Doing so will get you 50,000 silver and a free epic champion as part of the new player program to start your journey. Kicking off the episode, we have a 14-year-old salesman and IT support. What kind of things are you selling as a 14-year-old? Cookies? I have never in my life seen a 14-year-old salesman, but Aidan apparently is doing something right because he worked and paid for everything in this setup except for the GPU and the motherboard in his PC. He's got a single 27-inch gaming monitor from AOC on top of that beautiful MALM desk from IKEA and a budget RGB keyboard and mouse. I think Aidan did a pretty good job designing his setup and his room. I mean, there is pretty much RGB everywhere. Behind the setup, around his bed, and he even managed to add some behind the wall art. And I'm trying to figure out how on earth he did that because I'm pretty certain he didn't drill holes just to route the lighting cable through. I mean, if he did, then that's even more impressive actually. He also managed to sync the lighting with his PC, so the lights match the beats from the music he's playing, which is pretty cool unless you have epilepsy. The PC powering the setup has an 8700K and an ASUS Strix GTX 1080 Ti. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a great PC, but I feel like it's not balanced with the rest of the setup gear. You know, when you see a high-end rig like this and a $15 membrane keyboard, it kind of makes me question your priorities, but it's still a pretty badass setup for a 14-year-old. I like to always remind people, when I was 14, this is what my setup looked like. That's right, I pretty much had no setup until I was like age 20, so it's crazy to see how times have changed. Aidan, I wish you nothing but success on selling whatever it is that you're selling. I mean, you definitely are doing something right to be able to afford such an awesome setup like this at your age. Thank you very much for entering. Next up is Andy from Scotland and his super clean setup that he uses for gaming and productivity. He's able to afford this setup through editing videos and 3D designing for other people. Well done. He's rocking a 25-inch ultrawide from LG that he mounted against the desk, and you guys might not recognize it, but he's actually using the popular LINNMON tabletop from IKEA, but with a different set of legs. And I gotta say, it actually looks pretty good. It kind of gives the setup a modern touch, which I'm guessing is what he was going for. Keyboard is the MasterKeys Pro S RGB with brown switches, and he actually has 2 pairs of mice, the MX Master for work and the Mad Catz MMO TE for gaming. I love how clean and symmetrical he kept the desk. There was a good balance of items on each side. For audio, he's using the Logitech Z200 speakers and a pair of M20Xs with custom ear cups hanging from the PC. I really like how consistent he kept the colors throughout his setup, even in his PC. A super clean job, by the way. However, you are experiencing a lot of bottlenecking with that GPU, sadly, so I would strongly recommend upgrading the 1050 Ti as soon as possible to keep up with your CPU. Cables are managed beautifully, and kudos for drilling a hole in the desk to route that keyboard wire, and also extra points for that SD card placement underneath the desk. It's obvious that Andy has an attention to detail, and it definitely reflects on his setup. The painting on the wall above gives the setup just a little bit of personality. That way it's not too bland, but excellent work on the setup and thank you for entering. Changing up the pace a little bit, we got Archie from the UK, who is a student. It's actually been a while since I've seen a black and red setup on the show. Black and red used to be one of my favorite colors back in the day until people started overusing them. So Archie uses this setup for gaming, schoolwork, and productivity. He's using a black Ekback and countertop with 2 Alex drawers as support, Notice that he mounted the monitor a little higher than usual so that it doesn't interfere with the speakers. For peripherals, he's got the K70 Lux RGB keyboard and the G502 mouse. Even though he didn't really manage those cables, he did make up for it by covering the monitor cables with a raceway, and he even painted them the same color as the wall. Nicely done. Aside from the speakers, he also uses the HyperX Cloud Alpha headphones, which are resting on a hanger off to the side. I really do appreciate the color consistency across the setup. I especially like the abstract painting on the wall surrounded by the acoustic foams. It's a shame the measurements didn't quite work out for the top right corner, but this really does add a level of personality to your setup. The PC powering it all is equipped with an i5-8400 and the GTX 1060, and it looks like you built inside the Thermaltake P3. Here's a small recommendation for the build. You can actually buy some red skins off Amazon and you can skin your power supply. That way it blends in a lot better with the rest of the parts. Other than that, you did a fantastic job designing this setup. Thank you, Archie, for entering. Holy moly, chips and guacamole. Take a look at Maurice's quad display setup from Berlin. He uses all 4 displays for gaming and editing. We have a 24-inch AOC gaming monitor in the center, sandwiched by 2 other 24-inch monitors and a 49-inch Samsung TV up top as an overhead. He kept the surface pretty clean, not much on there other than his G560 RGB speakers. We got the G910 keyboard and the G502 Hero mouse. And is that a landline phone I see there? My man Maurice is still living in the 1990s. I'm just kidding. I'm just surprised to see a landline phone with a crazy setup like this. His headset is mounted against the wall on the right side, and the cables are nicely tucked away underneath the desk. I'm actually really glad that he used massive wall raceway to cover the cables from the displays. I have no complaints here. The PC pushing all those pixels has a Ryzen 5 1600 and a GTX 960, which is impressive. Aside from all the flashy RGB lighting and the crazy amount of displays, the setup still seems like it's missing a personal touch. I would try and populate the walls around your TV with posters or something similar to add personality to this already awesome setup. Also, my OCD is telling me to tell you to pick up another RGB sphere for the right side of your setup. Thank you, Maurice, for entering and sharing this awesome setup with us. Wrapping up the episode is Zach from Iowa and his newly upgraded setup, which is mostly used for gaming and homework. He's got a 29-inch UltraWide on the bottom with a 23-inch up top that seems to be mounted against the wall. I like that Zach went with an IKEA Mickey desk for the main setup and an Alex drawer to hold up his PC instead of cramming everything on that small desk. But personally, the Mickey desk is a bit too small. You can see how close the keyboard is to the monitor. I would have mounted both monitors on the wall and pulled the desk forward, that way the monitor isn't so close to your face. Also, the Alex drawer isn't quite the same height as your desk, and an easy fix for this would be to go to Home Depot and buy a wooden plank with the same dimensions as your Alex drawer. You can also paint it in white so it matches the drawer, and you can place it right underneath it so it lifts up the drawer to be the same height as your desk. For audio gear, he's got the M50Xs sitting on a wooden stand and a pair of Kanto speakers which he mounted on the wall. You kind of had the right idea of tilting the speakers more towards you, but I feel like you put them a bit too high. Personally, I would have mounted them slightly lower with the same height as the top monitor. Cables are decently managed. I mean, it's not the worst, but I would have used some more Velcro straps to wrap the wires together, and you could even use these channel raceways in the back of your desk to route the cables. That way they're not hanging down like this. One other minor thing I want to mention are the acoustic panels. Personally, I feel like going with all black panels in a square design like that kind of takes away from the rest of the setup. Especially in this picture with all the lighting on, I just can't help but focus on the acoustic panels. I feel like throwing in some white ones in there for contrast or even going with a different design would have helped balance the focus point of your setup a lot better. The PC is pretty dope. It's got a 6600K and a GTX 1060 with a custom RGB backplate and SSD cover. I think you did an amazing job with your new setup. Definitely a huge transformation coming from your old one. Some of the things that I think you excelled on were the lighting and the custom design on your wall to add that level of personality. Thank you, Zach, for entering, and good luck on your schoolwork. And that's it for this episode of Setup Wars. As always, make sure you guys comment below on who you think has the best desk setup. If you guys want some sneak peeks and other setups not featured on the show, make sure to follow me on my social media platforms. I love your faces. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.